Oh, well hello, not adventurers, but gods in the making. Welcome to another episode of Game On, where I, Tyson Fraley, am going to show you how to start your own homebrew world. Alright, I can't do that voice, or else you guys are just not gonna take me seriously. So I've had a few people kind of ask me what exactly goes into building a homebrew world as opposed to just DMing a game. Well, just DMing, like, I don't know, just filing your taxes. Whoever really does that anyway. Homebrewing can be a little bit of a different beast for DMs, so I thought I'd go over some introductory stuff just to help get your game off the ground. The first consideration is, what story do you want to run for your players? Political intrigue? Mythic adventure? Planar hopping? The reason you want to kind of keep this in mind when you're about to start homebrewing is that it'll give you an idea of what the scope is going to be. The scope could be macro level, like looking to the politics of multiple different countries interacting with each other, or it could be micro level. It could be focused on one continent. It could be focused just in one town, and they never leave that. It's up to you to determine how big you want to go, and how much you want to establish ahead of time. Next up, countries and regions. Where do you want the game to take place? What kind of terrain are you interested in? Are you interested in a mountainside, like mythic adventure where people are able to swing from one mountain to the other? Or are you focusing more to urban places, like a large sprawling city? Some key things to keep in mind for the countries and regions is just some hotspots around the location that your party could interact with. Whether it be a capital city, it could be a natural expanse, such as like a glade or some sort of religious monument. Just little things that you can add some flavor text to later if you want to. Another big help can be establishing a few organizations. You don't need to go full development in like how it got started, who exactly is running it. It can just be helpful if you're just like, oh, you want to go and face the ruler of this place. Well, that happens to be this person or this council. So it's just a little bit of world building that'll help flesh out exactly what's going on and who's who. Another thing that can be helpful is some general history. You don't have to go full in depth of how economics affected the wheat populations here in the region, but it can just be helpful to know, okay, around 10 years ago this person took power, around 30 years ago there was a big volcano blast that ruined some of the parts of the northern region. Just little bits of here and there that you can flesh out more specifically later if your party becomes interested. What I hope I've gotten across very clearly this far is that when you're homebrewing, when you're starting off, create outlines of things. You don't have to go full depth into everything all at once. Let that happen later. The reason is that your party might focus on one thing when you were expecting it to focus on another, and then suddenly you have no information for one, but then you do for all of this, and then you might get caught up in what is known as railroading, or forcing your party to go into one direction when they want to go into another. Let's say you mention that there's a sentient crocodile population out in the swamps, and suddenly your party really wants to go there when you built up this entire political intrigue campaign, but you still gotta swing with it. Railroading is forcing the players to go to the political intrigue when they want to go to the swamps. Let them go to the swamps. You've established it, you have a little bit of an outline, make something up. It's fun. If you have general outlines and you can just make stuff up on the fly, that'll be so helpful to being able to just go, yes, you want to know about the crocodile population here in Terra. Yes, of course, because they have a monarch, they have the Crocodile King, they have a variety of concubines and other sorts, and as you approach into the swamps, you see a number of crocodile guards just holding spears with human heads on them, and they're shaking them at you. Of course, that's a little bit over-exaggerated, but it gives you an idea a little bit of what kind of wild stuff you can just throw out there as long as you have an outline for it. The last tip for starting off is what's known as diving in. Diving in is when you focus on areas of world building that you enjoy. Homebrewing a world is not meant to be an arduous task where you're torturing yourself having to come out with a 1,000-year history when you really hate history. Focus on to the things that you enjoy about world building. Focus on building maps and terrain if that's what you love. Focus on history if that's what you love. Focus on political systems if you love politics. It's all relative. This is all up to you. This is the joy of world building. Focus on what you love to build, and I promise your players are going to love it too. And this is why you have outlines. You don't have to go full in depth if you don't want to, because you can always just improv the stuff based on the outlines you've provided. That way your party always has a little bit of substance, but if they find something that they're really attracted to, well then, hopefully, they're going to be attracted to the things that you're attracted to. And if they're not, well then, there's definitely some interplay there. You might not love economics or the political, but politics does have an investment in history. Politics dictates what maps are built and what they look like. So focus on those elements and how they tie together, and you might actually find that you enjoy something that you initially loathed to begin with, and might actually find something interesting about it. That's really what the crux of homebrewing is. It's the joy of building itself. It's not about anything else. Homebrewed worlds are not about fully fleshed out worlds that have taken dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of hours to figure out, but instead about finding the joy in the actual world building and also of the players interacting with that world. So if you're taking your first steps into homebrewing, I hope you take these tips to heart. This is really only suggestions that I can offer as my experience as being a DM and a GM for a long time. But these are only my opinions, my suggestions. Take them with a grain of salt. But hopefully these will help make sure that you feel inspired to actually build a world, as opposed to just seeing it as an endless slog into a bunch of things you don't like. With all that being the case, thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, like and subscribe, and as always, this is Tyson Fraley, and game on, my friends.